A wealthy single father stumbles upon a bride, bound and hidden deep within the shadows of the forest. What he does next will leave you breathless. The forest air crackled with vitality, infused with the sharp scent of pine and the rich aroma of damp earth, beckoning all who entered into its enchanting embrace. In the dense canopy above, birds sang their sweet melodies, while the subtle crunch of boots on the forest floor reverberated softly through the towering trees. Ethan, a man in his mid-30s, bore a strong jawline that was softened by the warmth in his eyes. He was immersed in the task of helping his 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, as they prepared their modest campsite on the fringes of a secluded forest reserve, the air thick with the scent of pine and adventure. The location exuded tranquility, a serene refuge far removed from the clamor of urban life, an ideal sanctuary for their weekend retreat from the burdens that pressed upon them. Sophie, her eyes sparkling with mischief, raced through the tangled underbrush, her laughter echoing like a melody carried by the wind. "Daddy, come quick. You have to see this book," she gasped, lifting a delicate creature on her finger, its fragile form shimmering in the light. Ethan's smile radiated warmth as he playfully ruffled her curly hair, nodding with a soft hum of approval that echoed in the air around them. "Just promise me you won't stray too far. All right, Peanut?" He spoke with a playful tone, yet his eyes betrayed a lingering wariness. As Sophie danced forward, her laughter echoing in the air, Ethan crouched down, his fingers deftly working to secure the tent pole, the weight of the moment pressing in around them. In that moment, he caught it. A whisper, delicate and elusive, weaving through the rustling leaves like a ghostly echo. It was neither the haunting cry of a wild beast, nor the sweet melody of a songbird. It was a fragile whisper, trembling with vulnerability, a haunting cry for help that echoed through the silence. He froze, a shiver creeping down his spine as the hair on the back of his neck stood on end. Time itself held its breath as the forest lingered in his presence. Once more, the sound pierced through the silence, sharper and more distinct than before. Assistance needed. Ethan straightened, a surge of instinct coursing through him. "Sophie, don't wander too far," he called out, his voice echoing in the stillness, then pivoted sharply toward the source of the sound. He navigated the dense thicket with caution, the low-hanging branches whispering secrets as they grazed his skin, while the undergrowth clung to his jeans like a persistent shadow. The voice beckoned him further into the heart of the forest, leading him to a secluded clearing cloaked in darkness, where the sunlight struggled to break through the dense foliage above. There, nestled against the gnarled trunk of an ancient oak, stood a woman. She lay there, her white dress a tattered remnant, starkly contrasting with the dark, unforgiving soil beneath her. Ethan blinked, his mind racing to comprehend the scene unfolding before him. She stood there in a wedding dress, her arms bound uncomfortably behind her, the chains whispering with each tentative movement. Her wrists and ankles bore the marks of torment, bruised, raw and bleeding, a testament to her struggle. Strands of her dark hair clung desperately to her tear-streaked face, a haunting testament to her turmoil. Her eyes, wide with fear, locked onto his, a silent plea for understanding hanging in the air between them. "Oh my God," Ethan whispered urgently, propelling himself ahead. He sank to his knees beside her, every movement deliberate, as he sought to avoid startling her. The woman's lips quivered, her voice a delicate whisper, barely holding together. "My name is Isabel. Please, you must help me escape this place." Ethan's fingers brushed against the cold, unyielding chains, his gaze narrowing as he scrutinized their every link. The chains were heavy and rusted, yet their strength was unmistakable. "I need something to shatter these," he declared, his voice laced with urgency. "Do you have any idea who is responsible for this?" She nodded slowly, her breath hitching in her throat. "Yes. They whispered that I was fleeing from destiny, that I had no choice but to marry him. They warned me that if I dared to refuse, I would face the consequences." Ethan's brows knitted tightly, a storm of worry brewing within him. Who is it? Who were they really? His family loomed large in his mind, a tapestry of memories woven with love and strife, each thread pulsing with the weight of their shared history. They are ancient, brimming with power. He possesses immense wealth, an abundance that many could only dream of, but beneath that opulent surface lies a dark and twisted soul. On the day of the wedding, I found myself running. They pursued me relentlessly, as if I were nothing more than prey. Ethan's stomach twisted in a tumultuous dance of unease. This was no mere twist of fate. A shadow loomed over the scene, hinting at a depth far more sinister. He cast a wary glance over his shoulder, tension coiling in the air, as if he anticipated a figure to emerge from the shadows of the trees at any moment. "I have a daughter nearby," he whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence of the night. "We have to break these chains and escape this place. Time is running out." Isabel shook her head, her voice falling to a sharp whisper that sliced through the tension in the air. "Silence! If you make a sound, if you let them catch even a whisper of our presence, they'll track us down, and we won't stand a chance." Eyes lurk in the shadows, unblinking and relentless. Ethan gazed into her eyes, perceiving not merely fear, but a profound well of trauma that constricted his chest. "I won't let that happen," he declared with unwavering resolve. "I swear it." With a swift motion, he brandished his multi-tool, the sole companion in his desperate moment. Though he was never destined for this line of work, he found himself at the chains, his fingers unwavering even as the tension escalated around him. Isabel's breath quickened, each inhale a frantic gasp that echoed in the silence around her. With her free hand, she grasped the rough bark of the tree, her fingers digging in as if seeking refuge. "You have no idea what you're getting into. If they discover my hiding place, they will seize me, pulling me back into their grasp, like a predator capturing its prey, like a wild creature trapped in a cage." Her voice trembled on the final word, and Ethan's hands stilled, caught in the moment. Her fear enveloped her, a palpable force that threatened to consume everything she held dear. Pain was only the beginning. It was the dread of losing herself, her freedom, and the flickering light of hope that haunted her every thought. "I won't let them take you," he vowed, his voice low and earnest. "But you need to trust me. Are you capable of that?" She nodded, her tears cascading silently down her cheeks, each drop a testament to her unspoken sorrow. Ethan pushed himself harder, the cold metal gnawing at his hands with every frantic movement. The forest closed in around them, its silence heavy and suffocating. Each crack of a twig sent jolts of adrenaline through them, yet Ethan pressed on, undeterred. He pressed on relentlessly, for this woman, bound and battered, had transformed from a mere stranger into something far more significant. Once a cherished daughter and a beloved friend, she now found herself enveloped in the shadows of his guardianship. In the distance, Sophie's laughter danced through the trees, a haunting melody of innocence, untouched by the shadows that loomed nearby. Ethan's gaze flickered toward the source of the sound, then returned to Isabel, a mix of curiosity and concern etched on his face. The clock was ticking down, each second echoing like a drumbeat of urgency. Ethan gripped the wheel with one hand, the other resting softly on the passenger seat, where Isabel sat, cocooned in his jacket, her silence heavy with tremors of fear. The truck jolted and swayed along the rugged dirt road, pulling away from the shadowy embrace of the forest. Outside, the sky transformed into a warm amber hue, signaling the sun's slow dramatic descent into the horizon. Sophie, secured in the back seat, observed Isabel with a keen sense of intrigue, feeling an undeniable shift in the air surrounding the woman her father had just saved. The journey to the farm stretched out like an eternity, laden with unvoiced anxieties and doubts. Ethan focused on the road ahead, stealing glances at Isabel, only when the truck's headlights danced across her pale complexion, illuminating the remnants of dried tears and the shadows of bruises that told a haunting story. As they stepped inside, Ethan took her hand, leading her with a tender touch to the inviting couch nestled in the warm embrace of the living room. The farmhouse stood humble yet inviting, its wooden furniture whispering tales of the past, framed pictures capturing fleeting moments, and the gentle aroma of cinnamon wafting through the air from the potpourri that Sophie lovingly scattered. Throughout the rooms, Ethan glanced back, determination etched on his face. "I'll get the first aid kit," he declared, stepping away from her side, the weight of urgency in his stride. Isabel remained frozen, her fingers clawing at the fabric of the jacket's sleeves, her eyes flitting anxiously around the room, anticipating the sudden intrusion of an unwelcome visitor. The room exuded an unsettling calmness, a deceptive safety that felt almost alien. As Ethan reappeared, he dropped to his knees beside her, every movement steeped in a careful familiarity. As he meticulously tended to the wounds on her wrists and ankles, Isabel flinched, a silent testament to her pain. Her cautious eyes remained fixed on him, betraying a mix of fear and uncertainty. "You're good at this," she murmured, her voice a raspy whisper that hung in the air like a secret. Once I walked the halls of hospitals, a medic dedicated to saving lives, before everything changed. He fell silent, securing the final bandage with a steady hand. "What was your life like before you struck it rich?" she asked, a flicker of dry humor slicing through the tension that hung in the air. Ethan let out a soft chuckle, the sound lingering in the air like a secret waiting to be shared. "Indeed, life unfolds in the most peculiar ways." "What about you then? What tale do you have to share?" Isabel let out a long, shuddering breath, her head sinking into the plush embrace of the couch behind her. "I was meant to marry a man named Victor," she whispered, her voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of tension. "He hails from a lineage steeped in ancient wealth, a legacy that grants him immense power and connections that elude the grasp of ordinary souls. I believed I could walk away when I uttered that single word, but they swiftly revealed that my rejection was a grave affront." She halted, her fingers tightening into fists. "They arrived under the cover of darkness, just hours before the wedding, declaring that I must learn obedience. He had chosen me, and in the world of the Blackwoods, refusal was not an option." Ethan's brows furrowed in deep concentration. He was well aware of the Blackwood name, a legacy of real estate tycoons, spoken of in hushed tones within business circles, more feared than revered. "They transform you into something primal," he growled, his voice thick with fury. Isabel's head dipped in agreement, a silent acknowledgement of the weight of the moment. They whispered it was symbolic, a lesson cloaked in shadows, urging me to grasp the depths of my existence. The silence enveloped them once more, thick and suffocating, a palpable ache in the air. Sophie sat cross-legged on the floor, her favorite picture book open in her lap. She glanced up, a radiant smile spreading across her face as she met Isabel's gaze. "You're really pretty," she whispered, her cheeks flushed with a mix of admiration and uncertainty. Isabel blinked, her eyes wide with astonishment. "Thank you, my dear." Sophie inched forward, her heart racing as she extended a delicate flower she had plucked from the depths of the forest. "This is meant for you." It once stood in solitude, a solitary figure in a vast expanse, but now a companion has joined its side, transforming the scene into something vibrant and alive. Isabel's gaze locked onto the delicate flower cradled in her hand, her lips parting ever so slightly, as if the world around her had faded into a whisper. A small yellow wildflower stood defiantly, its petals frayed and tattered, whispering secrets of resilience in the breeze. Yet it held a haunting beauty. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Ethan gazed intently, captivated by the way Isabel's eyes sparkled with an enchanting light. In that fleeting moment, an undeniable sense of raw vulnerability hung in the air, a feeling he instinctively recognized, the deep longing to be desired for your true self, rather than for the value you can provide. The warmth of a child's pure, unwavering acceptance envelops you like a soft embrace, a sanctuary from the complexities of the world. "She has that gift," Ethan murmured, a hint of awe in his voice. "She makes people feel like they truly belong." "I never had this," Isabel whispered, her voice trembling after a long, heavy silence. "In the heart of every family lies a warmth that envelops like a cozy blanket, creating a sanctuary we call home. All I had ever known were the unyielding marble floors beneath my feet and the icy stares that pierced through the silence." Affection arrived shrouded in conditions, and Ethan nodded, a silent acknowledgement of the deeper truths he grasped beneath the surface. "In this moment, you can let go. I swear it. You're safe here." Her gaze pierced through the fatigue, sharp and unwavering as she looked at him. "Do you grasp the weight of your words? If they discover my presence, it won't be just me they see." "I know," Ethan said, his voice steady yet filled with an unshakable resolve. "But the moment I found you, I made a promise. Promises are sacred to me. I never shatter them." Isabel's gaze lingered on him, her eyes searching, weighing every unspoken word before she finally nodded. A slow, deliberate movement that seemed to echo in the charged silence between them. For the first time since their paths had crossed, a subtle relaxation washed over her shoulders, a fleeting moment of relief. Sophie pressed herself against her father's side, the sound of his yawning echoing in the quiet room. "Daddy, can she stay with us?" Ethan smiled softly, knowing that for now she was their guest, and they would honor the sacred duty of caring for their guests. Isabel's gaze fell upon Sophie once more, this delicate embodiment of love and unwavering strength, and a profound transformation stirred within her. After what felt like an eternity, she finally dared to embrace the flicker of hope within her. The days that followed unfolded with a deceptive calm, yet true peace remained an elusive shadow, always just out of reach. Isabel never let her shoes slip off, regardless of how inviting the plush rug felt beneath her feet, or how the golden sunlight poured through the farmhouse windows. Her sneakers remained laced tight, caked with mud, always prepared for whatever lay ahead. As darkness enveloped the room, Ethan's voice wove enchanting tales for Sophie, who nestled under her covers. Meanwhile, Isabel lingered by the window, her gaze darting to the shadowy tree line that loomed just beyond the fence, a sense of unease creeping in with the night. She etched into her mind the haunting creaks of the floorboards, the eerie shadows the moon draped over the porch, the back door, the garage, and the shed lurking behind the barn. She meticulously cataloged each option as a potential escape route, her mind sharp and focused. She was neither delusional nor paranoid in the conventional sense. She was simply fighting for her survival. Her mind, keen and precise, navigated the landscape like a soldier maneuvering through hostile ground. She meticulously counted the minutes it took to reach the truck from every room, her sleep fragmented into short bursts, her back pressed firmly against the wall. At the slightest sound, her eyes flew open, breath held tight until the silence enveloped her once more. Ethan observed her closely, yet he remained silent. Instead, he crafted a serene refuge around her, free from inquiries and devoid of pressure, infusing it with warmth and unwavering patience. Clean towels lay neatly folded on the bathroom counter, a small touch of care in the otherwise still air. The pantry brimmed with provisions, a promise of comfort and nourishment. He wore a ready smile, a beacon of hope, urging her to take her time, to heal at her own pace. And slowly, like the dawn breaking, Isabel began to respond. She remained unyielding as Ethan handed her a plate, no longer tensing when Sophie nestled into her lap, proudly presenting a drawing. She immersed herself in the morning routine, deftly folding laundry and humming softly as she scrubbed the dishes by the sink, the warmth of the day beginning to unfold around her. Trust hung in the air, delicate and tentative, yet it began to weave itself together, strand by strand. As the evening sky blazed with strokes of lavender and gold, Sophie's voice broke the tranquil air, her eyes sparkling with curiosity as she asked if she could feed the chickens. Ethan nodded from the porch, his gaze steady as he watched Sophie. "Just stay near the coop," he called out. A grin spread across her face as she bounded off, her little boots kicking up clouds of dust behind her, the sun glinting off her hair like a halo. Isabel leaned against the railing, her gaze fixed on the vast expanse of the field before her. "She's fearless," she whispered, her voice trembling with awe. Ethan gazed at her, his eyes filled with warmth. She mirrored her mother in so many ways. A shadow flickered across Isabel's face. Had she vanished into the darkness? Ethan's head dipped in a slow, heavy nod, the memory of the car accident from 5 years ago lingering like a shadow in his mind. Isabel fell silent for a heartbeat, the weight of her words hanging in the air before she finally whispered, "I'm sorry." She would have adored you, Ethan. She possessed an uncanny ability to peer beyond the surface, unraveling the hidden stories etched in people's scars. Isabel's gaze fell to her hands, then drifted toward the horizon, where Sophie's silhouette danced among the swaying blades of grass. Time stretched, each second heavy with anticipation, until suddenly it pierced the silence. A scream echoed through the air. Ethan felt a sudden chill grip his heart. "Sophie?" He raced down the steps, Isabel hot on his heels. But as they burst into the coop, a chilling realization struck. Sophie was missing. She was right there. Ethan muttered, his voice strained with urgency. Sophie, Isabel's voice pierced the tranquil evening air, a desperate cry that echoed with urgency. She took off, heart racing, weaving through the trees, skirting the shed, her breath coming in sharp, desperate gasps. "Lily, please, just answer me," Ethan urged, his voice laced with urgency. "Isabel, wait." She might have circled back, but Isabel was oblivious to his call. Her hands tore at the shrubs, her eyes wide with frantic desperation. "Not again, please. No." "Isabel." Ethan gripped her shoulders tightly, his voice urgent. "Look at me." She fought against him, tears streaming down her face as she sobbed. "They took her, just as they had taken my sister. She was only 10, they claim she wandered too far, and then she vanished without a trace. I was powerless to save her." The floodgates broke open, and Ethan stood frozen, the weight of realization crashing down on him like a brutal blow to the chest. Isabel fell to her knees, her anguished cries tearing through the silence, fingers tangled in her hair. Despair clawed at her heart as she whispered the words, a haunting echo of past grief. The weight of her anguish pressed down, a suffocating reminder of what she had already endured. She stood on the precipice of fear, vowing to fight against the darkness that threatened to consume her once more. The thought of losing another child was a torment she could not bear, a nightmare she refused to relive. "I promise you," Ethan said, kneeling beside her, his voice steady and resolute. "We're going to find her. You're not alone in this, not this time." In that moment, the air shifted, a rustle breaking the silence, followed by a soft, trembling voice that whispered, "I'm sorry." Lily burst forth from the shadows of the haystack, cradling a stray kitten she had been pursuing with fervor. Isabel's heart raced as she let out a shuddering sob of relief, rushing forward to envelop Lily in a fierce embrace. The girl squeaked under the pressure, her voice barely a whisper as she confessed, "I was just trying to save her. She was cold." Isabel nodded against her, tears streaming down her cheeks, a torrent of emotion unleashed in that moment of reunion. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave. "You're safe. You're safe. Thank God for that," Ethan observed Isabel as she held on to his daughter, her grip fierce and desperate, as if she were clinging to the last remnant of a world unraveling around them. In that fleeting moment, an unvoiced connection sparked between them. He saw beyond her fear to the profound loss that lay beneath, the weight of her hidden scars. For the first time, he grasped the truth. Isabel was not merely fleeing from captivity. She was escaping the relentless grasp of grief. The farmhouse was quiet, bathed in the warm, flickering glow of firelight. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, but inside, a calm stillness had settled. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, curled up beneath a blanket, with the stray kitten, now named Clover, nestled beside her. Ethan and Isabel sat in the kitchen, nursing mugs of tea. The steam curled upward, but neither of them moved to drink. Something hung in the air, unspoken, waiting. Isabel stared at her reflection in the darkened window, her voice soft but steady. "You should know everything. You deserve to." Ethan looked at her, silent, letting her lead. "Victor Blackwood," she began, her fingers tightening around the mug, "is not just some spoiled heir. He is a man who He is a man who spent his entire life buying what he wants, and what he wanted was me." Her tone was devoid of drama, almost clinical. "I was 22. My mother had just died. I was alone. No family, no job. Victor saw me at a gala I worked at as a server. He offered help. Opportunity, said he, saw potential in me." She gave a hollow smile. What he saw was obedience. She paused, then continued. "At first it was subtle. He gave me a place to stay, hired me a stylist, said it was all part of a mentorship. But soon I had to ask for permission to leave the house. Friends disappeared, my phone was monitored. He would remind me, 'I saved you. I made you. Without me, you're nothing.'" Ethan's jaw tensed. "That's not love. That's a prison." Irina nodded. "He used legal contracts, NDS, property transfers, to tie everything back to him. Even my clothes were registered as his assets. When I tried to leave the first time, he had his lawyers threaten me, told me I'd disappear like others who forgot their place, and I believed him." Ethan leaned forward. "Why you?" She hesitated, then then answered, because I said no to him once, and Victor Blackwood doesn't accept no. That made me his mission. A long breath escaped her. 2 years. I lived under cameras, guards, threats. He would under cameras, guards, threats. He would shower me with gifts, then remind me I was nothing without him. The engagement was announced without asking me. The wedding date set. I played along because I was scared. She looked Ethan dead in the eyes. But the morning of the wedding, I saw my mom the wedding reflection in that dress. I saw a stranger and something snapped. I ran. I knew I would not survive if I stayed. Ethan swallowed hard, the weight of her words hitting like a stone. And that's when they caught you. She nodded. In the woods. I tried. To get to a bus station, I had a fake ID, cash, hidden, but someone tipped them off. They dragged me back. I think they were going to keep me hidden until after the wedding, and force a photo op, make it seem like I agreed after all. She closed her eyes. I managed to slip the cuffs when the guards left. I ran again. That's when you found me. Ethan reached across the table, gently placing his hand over hers. You do not ever have to go back. Tears welled in her eyes. You do not understand. Victor will not stop. He will hunt me, and anyone who helps me. He needs to make an example of me. I'm the bride who got away. That's not a story he can let exist. I do understand, Ethan said, voice firm. I know what men like him are capable of, but I also know this. He has never met someone like me, and I will not let him win. Isabel looked at him, emotion flooding her features. Why risk everything? Because you are not a possession, Ethan said. You're a person, and more than that, you're a person, and more than that, you're someone Sophie already loves, someone I care about. Her breath caught. She looked away, then back at him, as if trying to hold the moment still. I don't want to pull anyone down with me, she whispered. I've spent so long running, expecting betrayal at every turn. But if there is anyone who has made me believe in people again, it's you. Ethan's heart clenched. I'm not a savior, he said. But I will stand beside you, whatever comes. That's a promise, she nodded, the tear finally falling. And in the silence that followed, something shifted between them, something powerful, fragile, and unbreakable all at once. The days stretched into weeks, and the stillness of the countryside wrapped Isabel in a kind of peace she had never known. The low farmhouse, once unfamiliar and full of shadows, began to feel like a home. She no longer slept with her shoes on. The doors were still locked, but she no longer checked them 5 times a night. Slowly, she began to breathe again, not in fear, but in rhythm with the wind through the fields and the quiet hum of life around her. Ethan gave her space, never rushing her, never asking for more than she was ready to give. He simply made her coffee in the morning, left a flower from the garden at her place at the table, smiled when she laughed, and she had begun to laugh, soft, uncertain at first, but real. Sophie adored her. They spent afternoons in the kitchen, where Isabel taught the girl to bake chocolate chip cookies, her hands covered in shea flour. As Sophie giggled beside her, she started planting a garden behind the house. At first it was just herbs, basil, mint, rosemary, then came tomatoes, beans, and peppers. Ethan helped her dig the soil, and Sophie painted the plant markers with bright colors. The garden, like Isabel, began to grow roots. One evening, as the 3 of them sat on the porch, watching the fireflies blink across the fields, Isabel turned to Ethan. I never thought I could feel this again. Not peace, not joy, not this. Ethan looked at her, his voice gentle. Neither did I. There was a quiet between them, thick with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. I haven't told you everything, he said. About me. About Sophie's mom. Isabel tilted her head, waiting. She was my first love. We married young, too young. I thought we had everything. But she had other plans, other people. He rubbed his thumb along the edge of his coffee mug. When she left, she didn't just walk out on me. She left. She didn't just walk out on me. She left. Sophie, too, said the world was too small here. said we were holding her back. Isabel's heart clenched. I'm so sorry. I was angry for a long time. Not just at her, but at myself. For not seeing it. For believing in something that wasn't real. He glanced at her, his eyes soft. I stopped trusting women, stopped letting anyone get close. But you let me in, she whispered. I did, he said, because you didn't ask to be here. Because you were honest, even when it hurt. And because I see you, not honest. What happened to you? Just you. Tears welled in her eyes. But she smiled through them. And I see you too, Ethan. That night, they lingered on the porch. Long after the stars had come out, their hands brushing, as they sat side by side, not needing to rush the moment, just letting it unfold. But peace, as they both knew, is a fragile thing. A few days later, just before sunset, a delivery truck pulled into the driveway. Ethan stepped out to greet the driver, who handed him a white garment bag and a small ivory envelope. It's for Miss Isabel, the man said, then drove away. Ethan frowned, the weight of the bag familiar and wrong. He brought it inside and found Isabel in the kitchen with Sophie, pulling a tray of cookies from the oven. The smell of vanilla and chocolate filled the room. This just came for you, he said, setting the items on the counter. Isabel's smile faltered the moment she saw the bag. Her hands began to tremble. She reached for the envelope first. It was sealed. With a wax stamp, the Blackwood family crest, her name was written in looping, elegant handwriting she recognized all too well. With trembling fingers, she opened it. A single card slid out, but read, "You can play house in the dirt for as long as you want, but you know how this ends. You belong to me. Try to run again, and I will chain you in front of the world. Consider this your wedding dress." Round 2. Isabel stared at the letter as her breath caught in her throat. Then almost mechanically she unzipped the garment bag. Inside was a new wedding dress, sleek, luxurious, the exact style she had once described in passing to Victor, years ago. He had remembered, he had waited. And now he was reminding her, she was still his. The room blurred, her knees gave out. Ethan caught her before she hit the floor. "I've got you," he whispered, holding her against his chest. She clutched the letter, her body racked with sobs. "He's never going to stop," she cried. "He'll find me. He'll hurt you. He'll take everything. I thought I could start over, but I was wrong. I was so wrong." Ethan pulled her closer, his voice firm. "No, Isabel, you are not his. You are not property. You are not powerless. We will face this together, but you are not powerless. We will face this." "Have a child," she whispered. "You have everything to lose." He touched her face gently, lifting her chin until their eyes met. "Then let me lose it for the right reason." And in that moment, wrapped in his arms, tears on her cheeks, Isabel felt her cheeks. Isabel felt her heart, damaged, guarded, worn, begin to beat with hope again. The morning sun streamed through the lace curtains, casting golden shapes on the farmhouse floor. Isabel stood by the window, clutching a mug of cold tea. She was not watching the sunrise. She was staring down her past. "I'm not going to run anymore," she said quietly, her voice stronger than it had been in years. Ethan approached and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Are you sure?" She turned to face him. "Running never set me free. It only kept me alone. If I want to truly live, if I want Sophie to grow up knowing the truth, I have to stop hiding. I want him exposed. I want people to see who he really is." And so, with the help of Evelyn Cartwright, Ethan's friend and a fierce attorney known for toppling giants, they built a plan. Isabel would invite Victor to the farmhouse, pretending to surrender, wearing a hidden recording device. She would push him to confess. Officers would wait just outside, ready the moment. They had what they needed. It was dangerous, but Isabel was done being afraid. The day arrived. Isabel wore a soft sweater and jeans. Her hands trembled beneath the table, but her face was calm. Sophie had been sent to safety. Evelyn waited in the corner, her phone connected to the feed. Ethan remained close, watching with quiet strength. At noon, a sleek black car rolled up the dirt road. Out stepped Victor Blackwood, immaculate, confident, cold. Isabel met him on the porch. "Isabel," he said smoothly, spreading his arms. You look rustic. She didn't flinch. You came alone. He smirked. Do I need backup to talk to my fiancé? We were never engaged, she said firmly. Victor shrugged, stepping closer. I forgive you. You're scared. This scared. This scared. Whole act. This farm life. You'll get over it. He reached for her hand. She stepped back. You do not get to forgive me, she said. You caged me, controlled me. That's not love. It's obsession. Victor's expression darkened. Everything I gave you. Everything I gave you. Everything I gave you. Dress. Every diamond. That was me caring for you. You just didn't understand how the world works. Isabel kept her voice calm. The wire beneath her shirt caught every word. I know what you did to the others. Victor, the ones who disappeared, sneered. You think anyone would believe a runaway over me? I am a Blackwood. Then prove it, she said. Say it. Admit it. His smile faded. His voice dropped to a hiss. Fine, I bought you. I bought your life. And if you ever pull something like this again, I'll bury you so deep, the world will forget you existed. Then with sudden fury, he lunged forward. You think you can trap me? You, before he could finish. Ethan burst through the door, tackling Victor hard. The two men crashed to the ground, the fists flying, but Ethan pinned him quickly, years of training kicking in. Sirens erupted in the distance. Officers swarmed the property within seconds, shouting commands. Evelyn stepped forward, holding up the recording. We got it all, every word, every word. Victor writhed beneath Ethan, his power dissolving by the second. Isabel stood over him, steady and unshaken. It's over. The world's going to see who you really are, as officers dragged him away. Screaming and struggling, Isabel turned to Ethan. Her breath came in shudders, her hands still shaking. He opened his arms and she collapsed into them, not broken, not afraid, free. The arrest of Victor Blackwood sent shockwaves through the nation. Within 24 hours, his face was on every news outlet. Headlines blared. Billionaire businessman arrested in explosive abuse scandal. Video clips of him being led away in cuffs played on repeat across television screens and social media feeds. They came from the women, one by one. Survivors stepped forward. Voices that had been silenced by fear or buried beneath legal threats now rose in chorus. Former assistants, ex-fiancés, even household staff, all shared chillingly similar stories of all manipulation, control, and cruelty. The pattern was undeniable. Victor Blackwood had operated in the shadows for years, believing himself untouchable. Not anymore, thanks to the recording. Isabel risked everything to capture. The legal case against him was airtight. Evelyn, the attorney, worked tirelessly to secure not just protection for Isabel, but rights for every survivor involved. Isabel was granted full anonymity in the proceedings, a legal shield that allowed her to speak without fear of retaliation. She also retained the right to press civil charges, should she choose to. But more than legal victories, what Isabel gained was peace. Life on the farm returned to its gentle rhythm. The garden she once planted in cautious silence now bloomed in vibrant rose. She walked barefoot on the porch in the morning sun, humming to herself as she made breakfast, and every day Sophie raced to her side with drawings, stories, and flower-covered fingers from their latest kitchen adventure. You're not scared anymore, Sophie said one morning, peeking up at Isabel with wide eyes. Isabel knelt beside her, brushing a curl from her cheek. No, sweetheart, I'm not. Good, Sophie said, hugging her tightly. Because I like this, Sophie said, hugging her tightly. Isabel best. Ethan watched the exchange from the doorway, his heart swelling with a quiet joy he had not felt in years. Isabel was not just healing. She was blooming, and in the quiet way of real love. His feelings had deepened with every day she stayed. There were no grand declarations, no burning confessions, just steady certain steps toward each other, until they were no longer walking side by side, but hand in hand. The two of them carried it in silence as they walked in the park. For them, this was where the soul burned, hand in hand. Then one evening, just as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft peach and lavender, Isabel called Ethan to the old oak tree near the garden. It was the same tree where months ago she had planted her first seeds with trembling hands. Now it stood tall and serene, a silent witness to all that had passed. Ethan approached curious. wiping his hands on his jeans. Isabel was standing beneath the branches, holding something small in her fingers. Her expression was calm, but her eyes shimmered in the fading light. "I want to show you something," she said. He stopped in front of her, and she gently took his hand. From her pocket, she pulled a piece of old rope, frayed, weathered, and unmistakable. Ethan froze, recognizing it immediately. "It's from the chains," she said softly. "The ones you cut when you found me. I kept a piece." He stared at it, his throat tightening. "I kept it," she continued. "Not to remember the pain, but to remember the moment I chose to fight, to run, to live." Her voice trembled slightly. But she smiled, "And today I want to turn it into something else." She looped the rope around his wrist, tying it gently. Her hands didn't shake. "Ethan," she said. Eyes didn't shake. "Ethan," she said. "Never leaving his. You found me when I was broken. You saw me not as a victim, but as someone worth saving. You gave me space to heal and the love to believe again, so now I'm choosing." She took a breath, steady and sure. "I choose freedom, and I choose you." Ethan's breath caught. Tears pricked the corners of his eyes, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then he reached for her hand, lifted it to his lips and whispered, "Then I choose you too." They stood beneath the oak tree, the rope tied between them, not as a symbol of bondage, but of rebirth, and as the wind rustled the leaves above them, the past finally let go. Isabel had once been chained. Now she was free, and she had found her forever. The forest was alive that morning, but not with fear. Birdsong danced through the treetops, and golden light filtered through the leaves, scattering dappled shadows on the ground below, in the very clearing where months ago Isabel had been chained, bleeding, broken, and terrified. There, waiting, broken and terrified, now stood a small wooden archway wrapped in ivy and wildflowers, built by Ethan's hands. Beneath it, two lives would join, not out of obligation, not from power or control, but by choice, pure sacred choice. The air smelled of pine and hope. Chairs smelled of pine and hope. Chairs were arranged in a simple half circle around the arch, filled with only the closest of friends, those who had witnessed their journey. No opulence, no media, no pretense. Just truth. Isabel stepped onto the forest path, her arm linked with Sophie's, who carried a small basket overflowing with petals. Her dress was not what fashion magazines would call couture. It was soft ivory linen, flowing and free, stitched with care by a seamstress who understood the soul behind the request. The dress moved with her, light and graceful, reflecting the woman she had become, grounded, radiant and whole. Sophie ran ahead, tossing petals into the air with sheer joy, giggling as they landed in soft arcs along the path. "Hurry, Isabel," she called. Over her shoulder, "Daddy's waiting." Isabel laughed, her voice clear and bright. The kind of laugh she never thought would live in her again. Each step forward was a silent triumph. Every tree that once loomed as a witness to her pain now stood as a testament to her healing. At the end of the aisle stood Ethan in a simple shirt and vest, his eyes never leaving hers. When their gazes met, everything else fell away. He took her hand as she reached him, and they stood beneath the arch in silence. For a moment, just breathing, just smiling. Then Isabel turned to their small gathering, her voice steady but full of emotion. "There was a time," she began, "when I believed freedom was just about escape, about distance, about running fast enough so no one could catch me." She looked around, her eyes pausing on the tree where the rusted chains had once hung. "But I learned something here," she continued. "I learned that true freedom isn't running. It's choosing to love even when your heart has known hurt, choosing to trust even after betrayal, choosing to stay when every fear tells you to leave." She turned to Ethan, her hand finding his. "I choose you," she said. "Not because I need saving, but because when I saved myself, you were there, waiting with open arms. You taught me that the past may shape us, but it does not define us. And that love, real love, is not possession. It's partnership. It's peace. Ethan's voice was thick with emotion as he replied, "And I choose you, not in spite of your past, but because of your strength, your truth, your fire. You've taught me how to believe again in love, in loyalty, in something that lasts." Sophie clapped and cheered, running to hug them both before the final words were spoken. When the vows were complete, when the first kiss as husband and wife had been shared beneath the canopy of the forest, the guests rose in applause, but for Isabel and Ethan, the loudest sound was their hearts beating together. Finally unchained, the sun climbed higher, spilling warm light through the branches as the small gathering moved into a quiet celebration. There was no band, no ballrooms, just a wooden table laden with simple food, laughter echoing through the woods, and the soft strum of a guitar played by one of Ethan's old friends as the sun dipped lower, casting the clearing in amber. Ethan helped Isabel onto the back of a chestnut horse. Sophie already perched in front. He climbed up behind them, wrapping his arms around the two women who had come to mean everything. With a gentle nudge, the horse stepped forward, hooves crunching over leaves and memories. They rode slowly through the forest, past the old oak tree, past the shadows that once swallowed Isabel whole. But this time, the darkness did not feel threatening. This time, light streamed through every corner. Isabel leaned into Ethan's chest, her hand holding Sophie's. She had been chained. She had been hunted. She had been hurt. But now she was free, and freedom had never looked more beautiful. As the final rays of sunlight kissed the forest floor and the sound of hooves faded gently into the golden hush of evening, one truth remained: love, when chosen freely, becomes the most powerful force of all. Isabel's journey was not just about survival. It was about reclaiming her voice, her life, and her heart. From the shadows of captivity to the light of a love built on trust and truth, she found her freedom not by running but by standing still and gaining. And worst, choosing to love again, and in doing so, she didn't just change her story, she wrote a new one. If this story touched your heart, made you believe in hope, or reminded you that healing is possible, please take a moment to subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories. Here we share powerful emotional journeys that uplift, inspire, and remind us all of the strength within the human spirit. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful stories begin right where everything once fell apart.